Disney theme parks. They're known as the happiest places on Earth, and where dreams can come true. Guests can experience everything from rides to attractions to character meet and greets. But not everything that has happened there was so magical, as over the years there have been many incidents that occurred on Disney property, from fires to protests to large fights and other crimes, to even a disturbing number of deaths. But in this video, I'm not going to be talking about those, but instead I'm going to be talking about incidents that somewhat relate to this channel. Incidents involving the characters. While most events and interactions with characters are very positive and sometimes magical, there's been numerous character-related incidents that don't get talked about much by other YouTubers who talk about Disney horror stories. So that's where I come in. Now before I go on with the video, I have to give out a few disclaimers. First, this video is not being made to publicly shame Disney or make anyone in these incidents look bad, unless they did something terrible. I'm doing this video for educational and historical purposes, so that these incidents are not forgotten, and so we can learn from these incidents and not try to repeat them. Next, this video will be ruining the magic of Disney, or in better words, it's not safe for magic. If you want to preserve the Disney magic, then do not watch this video. You have been warned. Finally, this video will be dealing with sensitive topics like racism, inappropriate topics, injury, and death. I will try to be as respectful as possible when talking about these, even if YouTube wants to take my monetization away for talking about these. Again, it's for educational and historical purposes. Also, I'm only going to be talking about large publicized incidents. Nothing that either didn't make the news or wasn't widespread. So for example, I won't be talking about incidents where characters mess up during a show like trip and fall, or costume malfunctions, like that one video where the Beast lost his head. These incidents are also going to be in order from oldest to newest. Alright, with all that legal information out of the way, here's 15 incidents involving Disney Parks characters. To start things off, here's a story that sounds too good to be true, but it was 100% real. In the summer of 1974, Disneyland character actor Robert Hill was portraying Winnie the Pooh for a group of children when suddenly he felt a punch on his back. It turned out to be a tall 9-year-old girl who was purposely hitting Pooh's back. Now to give more context in this situation, the Pooh costume used at Disneyland in the 70s was way different than it is today. He was much stubbier with an oversized head, and the cast member looked through the honey pot on Pooh's head. There was a screen in the front and the back of the honey pot, so Robert Hill was able to look behind him at times, so he came up with an idea. Since the girl was preparing to hit Pooh again, he thought it would be funny to surprise her, but when he spun around, Pooh's fiberglass ear struck the girl on the side of the head. Immediately, the girl's family started to gang up on Robert, who was left defenseless due to the limitations of the Pooh costume. The girl's family filed a lawsuit against Disney seeking $15,000. Disney tried to pay them less, but the family wasn't buying it. Fast forward 6 years later in 1980, and the case finally went to trial. The family claimed that Pooh intentionally slapped the girl, and she suffered from bruising, recurring headaches, and even brain damage. Robert Hill, who first stood trial as himself, this is important, denied their claims and said that he didn't slap her, he just accidentally hit her with Pooh's ear. Then a quick recess was called, but after the recess, no one was prepared for what would happen next. After a brief recess and everyone came back into the courtroom, Robert also re-entered, but this time, he wasn't Robert, he was Winnie the Pooh. That's right, Robert once again stood trial, but this time he was in the full Winnie the Pooh costume, and answered questions and danced in character as Pooh. He then demonstrated how high he could lift his arms, only to find out due to how stubby the suit is, Pooh's arms could only go up to about 3 feet, while the girl was hit in the head at 5 feet. Finally, after 21 minutes, the court ruled in favor of Disney and acquitted Robert. But the funniest part about this incident is that after everything was over, Robert was asked to go put on the Pooh suit again to take pictures with the court reporters, but unfortunately there's no photos from the actual trial. Now, that incident of Winnie the Pooh on trial wasn't the first time Disney was sued because of a costume with stubby arms. Ever since these costumes were created, they have been causing problems. They were super uncomfortable and heavy, and you could barely interact with them. One incident that stands out is one that occurred in 1976, but this time it was a little more serious than a bump on the head. So in 1976, an unidentified woman sued Disney because she claimed a cast member dressed as one of the three little pigs grabbed her and fondled her breast while screaming, "Mommy, Mommy." I'm not making this up, guys. She was asking for $150,000, and she also claimed to have gained 50 pounds as a result of the incident. The lawsuit was soon dismissed and never went to court because Disney representatives soon realized the woman was lying. They showed her a picture of the costume and pointed out that once again, the costume's arms weren't actual human arms, but stub arms, just like Pooh's arms. It was also around this time that Disney started to phase out the big head stubby arm costumes, probably because of incidents like these. Brace yourselves, guys. This next incident is no laughing matter. This is the first character tragedy. But again, I will be respectful when talking about it. On February 11, 2004, 38-year-old cast member Javier Cruz was dressed as Pluto when he was killed after being run over by a float. It happened backstage during the Share a Dream Come True parade behind Frontierland at the Magic Kingdom. Thankfully, no park guests saw the incident and only a few workers witnessed it. Now, there's conflicting reports as to what exactly happened. Some say Javier tripped and he couldn't get out of the way in time, while others say his Pluto foot got stuck under the float, which led to the incident. Whatever the cause was, this was still a tragic accident that could have easily been avoided. A few months later, OSHA, Occupational Safety and Health Administration, fined Disney $6,000 and forced Disney to make some changes to enhance safety of their employees. Rest in peace, Javier Cruz. Now, if there's one incident in this video you might be familiar with, it's probably this one. This particular case was extremely well known at the time, and is still considered one of the most bizarre and most interesting incidents to happen in Disney history. I'm talking about the infamous Tigger court case. In April 2004, 36-year-old Disney cast member Michael Chartrand, who played Tigger at Walt Disney World, was arrested for allegedly fondling a 13-year-old girl and her mother during a photo op. He was charged with battery and lewd molestation of a child between the age of 12 to 15 years old. 4 months later, in August 2004, the case went to trial, and during closing arguments, something happened that made this story iconic. The lawyer for Michael was Jeffrey Kaufman, who used to also play Tigger, and at the end of the trial he showed up to court with the real Tigger costume. Yes, the real Tigger suit used at the park was now in a courtroom. Unlike the Winnie the Pooh court case I mentioned earlier, the costume wasn't being worn during the trial, it was just carried in. After getting the costume out of the box it was carried in, Kaufman put the whole Tigger suit on just to show the jury that sometimes it's really hard to see where your hands are when your vision is limited by the mascot head. He also pointed out that someone would have seen the incident if it actually happened. Finally, after less than an hour of deliberation, Michael Chartrand was found not guilty and all charges against him were dropped. Michael was allowed to return to work at Disney after being suspended, although he did not feel comfortable wearing the Tigger costume anymore. But you want to know something else related to this incident that doesn't get brought up much? That's Disney's response. You see, during the whole incident, Disney cooperated with everyone, but when it came to the Tigger suit, they tried to draw the line. It seems that Disney was more concerned about the Tigger costume than the actual incident, as they tried to have the costume altered before being used. They wanted the costume to be dyed black and white and have its ears removed, because they didn't want kids to see Tigger as a costume being used in a case like this. Now, I'm not a legal expert, but I'm pretty sure Disney wanted to modify the costume before the trial, That's actually a case of tampering with evidence, which is illegal, Disney. Thankfully, the costume wasn't modified, and it was handled appropriately. In September 2004, 1 month after the Tigger court case, another beloved Disney character was involved in another incident. But this one isn't as well known as the last one. This time, the character involved was everyone's favorite goof, Goofy. What happened was the cast member playing Goofy was accused of shoving 2 other employees at Disney's Animal Kingdom. The 2 employees believed that Goofy was one of their friends who was just messing around with them, but when they went backstage it turned out to be a different employee. Also, during the investigation, 2 different employees accused the same employee of touching their breasts, but his lawyer claimed that the employee was actually just looking at their lanyards with pins on them. And that's where the story ends. I couldn't find the outcome of this incident. But now there's a twist in this incident. The cast member who was Goofy in these incidents was none other than Michael Chartrand, the same guy who was involved in the Tigger court case. And after this incident, he was either fired or resigned, and moved back to his home in England. Either people didn't like this guy and tried to frame him, or he's just a very despicable human being. No one knows. Alright, so the last few incidents I talked about dealt with more serious topics, but now here's one that's a little more comedic. Well, for everyone except the guy in the character costume. So you guys have probably seen this viral video before. The one where Pluto is chasing this kid, and then the grandmother, I think, pushes Pluto off the sidewalk. Well, a lot of people don't know why Pluto was chasing that kid, or what happened before the video. But after doing some research and reading comments from people who were there to witness the incident, I was able to find out why Pluto was chasing the kid and what happened before and after the video. The incident took place in Disneyland's Main Street in 2007. Pluto was taking pictures with a group of people when the kid in the video was told by someone to go up to Pluto and pull his tail to see if he barks. The kid then pulls Pluto's tail, causing Pluto to nearly lose his balance. Pluto then shook his finger at the kid, but then the kid decided to kick Pluto, and that's where the video begins. After the incident, the cast member who played Pluto was so scared that he was going to get fired that he decided to resign shortly after the incident. Parents, please control your children around mascots. They're not there to get beat up or kicked. They're there to make magic. You thought we were done talking about Tigger? Well, you're wrong, because Tigger was involved in another incident that wasn't nearly as well known as the 2004 court case, but still, it was everywhere. And no, Michael Chartrand wasn't involved in this one. In January 2007, a 31-year-old worker dressed as Tigger was accused of slapping a 14-year-old boy during a meet and greet at Disney's Hollywood Studios. The family filed a police report and hired a lawyer, claiming the actor deliberately attacked their son and wanted the guy charged with battery. The employee was suspended pending the investigation, but later told the sheriff's office his side of the story. He claimed that the teen was pulling on the back of his costume, which was causing him to lose his breath, and that the slap was in self-defense. Other sources claim that the kid was trying to unzip Tigger's back. Ultimately, no one was charged, and this incident never went to court, and the employee was allowed to return to work. But what do you guys think? Why did Tigger punch the teen? On June 7, 2009, a 60-year-old man from Pennsylvania was arrested after he allegedly groped a Disney cast member dressed as Minnie Mouse. It happened in the Toontown area of the Magic Kingdom, rest in peace. The woman in the costume was named Brittany Duncan, and she claimed the man grabbed her chest. She didn't call for help because she was worried about being fired for breaking character. The defense argued that there were other people in the room with the man and Minnie, and no one else said anything about this incident happening. However, the 60-year-old man was later found guilty on charges of misdemeanor battery and was sentenced to 180 days of probation and 570 hours of community service. He also had to undergo psychological evaluation, and he also had to write a letter apologizing to Brittany. Now, why in the hell would you grope Minnie Mouse? I mean, why would you grope anyone? But why Minnie? Man, he's lucky Mickey didn't beat his ass for touching his girl. Okay, so these next two incidents are tragedies, and may be disturbing to some, so brace yourselves if you don't like talking about death. And again, I will be respectful when discussing these. On August 6, 2009, 47-year-old cast member Mark Priest was portraying a pirate in the Captain Jack Sparrow Pirate Tutorial show, when he accidentally slipped on a puddle on the stage and hit his head on the wall. He was rushed to the hospital where doctors found out he had a broken vertebrae in his neck, and severe lacerations on his head that required 55 stitches. Unfortunately, he died in the hospital 4 days later due to complications from the fall. Disney immediately after the incident called OSHA, but I couldn't find anything that happened after. Rest in peace, Mark Priest. At Disney's Hollywood Studios, there's an attraction called the Indiana Jones Stunt Spectacular Show. And since this is a stunt show, there's bound to be accidents and injuries here. Ever since it opened, there have been numerous incidents occur there. For example, in 1990, OSHA fined Disney $1,000 over 3 separate incidents. In one incident, a performer fell 30 feet when a restraining cable failed. In another incident, a performer fell 25 feet when a prop ladder unexpectedly collapsed. A third performer was pinned by a malfunctioning trap door. Even after OSHA made Disney make the show safer, a performer fell 25 feet onto concrete. But the worst incident to happen at the stunt show was an unfortunate tragedy. On August 17, 2009, just 10 days after the performer in the pirate show died, another casualty occurred at the Indiana Jones stunt show. During the rehearsal, 30-year-old performer Anislav Varbanov was doing a tumbling act when he fell on his head and ended up breaking his neck. He was rushed to the hospital but was sadly pronounced dead an hour later. The next day, all performances of the show were cancelled out of respect for him and his family. R.I.P. Anislav Varbanov. Alright, so I'm now officially done with talking about tragedies involving characters. Not that any of these are better, but you know what I mean. In August 2010, a 27-year-old woman filed a lawsuit against Disney, claiming a cast member dressed as Donald Duck groped her during a meet and greet session back in the summer of 2008. She was seeking $200,000 and claimed to have suffered from severe physical injury, emotional anguish, acute anxiety, headaches, nightmares, flashbacks, and other emotional and physical ailments. Disney ultimately settled the lawsuit for an undisclosed amount in 2011. I mean, I know Donald can be kinda naughty and grumpy at times, but I don't think he would do anything like this. So we talked about assault, battery, molestation, groping, and even death. But this topic is something I'm actually kinda scared of to talk about, and that's racism. Now, Disney is no stranger to racism, but in terms of incidents at the parks, there's been a few cases of Disney characters ignoring black people, but there's primarily 2 big incidents. One I'm going to talk about now, and the other one I'll talk about at the end of the video. In August 2012, an African-American family claimed that the White Rabbit from Alice in Wonderland ignored their children to go interact with white and Asian children. They went to guest services to complain, and Disney gave them an apology letter and offered them free park passes. But these guys didn't give up, and they filed a lawsuit against Disney because they failed to tell them if the cast member in the rabbit costume was fired. This ended up becoming nationwide news, and soon after, another family also claimed that Donald Duck ignored their black children. Even former Disney characters started defending the employees, saying that they probably didn't see them because, as you know, the heads make things hard to see. And then of course others claimed it was racism. The lawsuit was settled on December 30th, 2013. So you've probably heard about this accident before since it happened recently, so I'm not going to go too in-depth with this one, but it's still noteworthy. On August 7, 2016, the Fantasmic show at Disney's Hollywood Studios was about to come to an end, and the Steamboat Willie portion of the show was wrapping up. Suddenly, a cast member dressed like Dopey from Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs fell from the upper deck and landed on another employee dressed like Goofy. Thankfully, both cast members only suffered minor injuries and were treated backstage. You know what I just realized? August is not a good month to be a Disney character. So many of these incidents occurred in the month of August. Although it's pretty funny that this accident involved characters named Dopey and Goofy. On November 2nd, 2019, a 51-year-old man was arrested after he groped a Disney cast member dressed as Ariel from The Little Mermaid. It happened in the Ariel's Grotto area in Fantasyland. What happened was the man and his wife were taking a picture with the employee, and the man said that Ariel was his favorite character before wrapping his arms around her and touched her breast. The poor woman started crying after the man left the room and immediately called for help. With the help of Disney PhotoPass photographers, police were able to track down the man and arrest him, and he was charged with sexual battery. You want to know something else about this incident that I haven't mentioned yet? The man was actually a sex offender. Okay, this is the last incident I'm going to be talking about in this entire video. This incident occurred just a couple of months ago, and it's very similar to another incident I already discussed. It's another race-related incident. 2022 is apparently not a good year to be a mascot, as there's been so many mascots getting accused of being racist towards black children. It started with this incident at Sesame Place where someone dressed like Rosita appeared to ignore two black kids. Then Chuck E. Cheese got accused of doing the same thing. It appears no characters are safe, not even Disney characters. But what makes the Disney incident stand out is unlike the other two, this didn't involve a mascot or a fur character. It instead involved a face character, Rapunzel, and the whole thing was caught on video. So in the video, you first see the two girls run up to Rapunzel only for their grandmother to scream at them to get in line. The cast member then informs her that there is no line, they're just walking around. Rapunzel then walks around still greeting children, except for the two girls. The grandmother then starts screaming at Rapunzel to give her kids attention and starts comparing it to the Sesame Place incident. She starts causing a scene, and right before the video cuts out, you can see Rapunzel take notice of the two girls. Now, unlike the other supposed racism incidents, this one has kind of flown under the radar, as most people have come to the conclusion that this isn't racism, and that the grandmother just wanted a lawsuit, and to cause a scene. That's very despicable. Shame on that woman. And there you have it, 15 Disney Parks incidents involving characters. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I also hope I didn't ruin Disney for you. But if I did, I'm sorry. But I did put disclaimers at the beginning, so I did warn you. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments section down below. Please like, share, and subscribe. And comment down below if there's another Disney character incident I didn't mention. Depending on how well this video does, I might do a part 2. I might also do one for non-Disney characters, like maybe sports mascots. Also, let me know if you want me to do more videos that have a darker tone to them. They're pretty fun to make. Thanks for watching, and have a magical day. Bye-bye!